This was a real 69 RT Charger, and how I jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah. I got a big old smile on my face today. I'm finally going to do it. And what is really pushing me to do it and pushing all the projects I have aside to do this is sad news. Irwindale Speedway in Southern California, which is a high banked half mile, is officially done at the end of this year. Yep, it's going to be turned into industrial warehouses, one of the best facilities we have on the West Coast. And I've raced there a few times. It is a blast to race at. And I was looking for a race car that I could at least try and run the last race. I was like, man, I got to find something. I want to run the last race there. I've got this old pile of junk, old super late model, and I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, it's going to cost way too much money to put that together. And then when I'm done with it, I don't want to keep racing super late models. They're way too expensive. I wanted to race something that I can not only race at the circle track, but then I can also race it at the road course, and then possibly even make street legal. Insert 69 Charger Daytona build.
Come down, slow papa. There ain't no way out. Upside head down, blacked out and hit the ground. Then they found him cold dead, paid a whole town blood red. Raised a bull on a snake chain. At the age of 12, I went astray. At 22, they say I killed a man. Yeah, today they say I'm gonna hang. Come down, slow jailer. Think I got me a way out. Here they come to condemn their bought and sold man. All I got to hear now, one shot to black it out. Raise the bull on the snake chain. At the age of 12, I went astray. At 22, they say I killed a man.
Yes, I can race this in the street stock class at the last Irwindale race, and I am going to do it. Of course, this car is going to need a lot of work. This thing has probably been sitting for 35, 40 years. Who knows? This was a real 69 RT Charger, and how I know this, those two holes right there, that's where the RT emblem would have been. And you can kind of make out the dash, the T right there, and the R. And can you believe how incredible shape this thing is? I mean, like, they've already radiused the quarter panels and the fenders and filled in the side markers, and they have skinned the entire car. They cut the roof off, made it to where it bolts back on, but we're going to make that a little bit lighter. I mean, again, this was, I mean, in its time, this was being built very, very well. Nowadays, it's a little crude, but in its time, 69 Chargers were dime a dozen. So taking an RT that already had an engine you could use and a transmission, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for guys to take RT cars, Hemi cars, six-pack cars, you name it, and turn them into drag cars, circle track cars, anything. And this is just one that was started to be built, but then never finished. Look, so all the structure has been cut out of the car. You know, it looks like they stopped on that side, but there is no roof structure left. It's just a skin. There's no door structure, there's no door jamb structure. But what is nice, the original floor pan and the original firewall is still there, which has to be per the rules. So that got me, I was like, I can finally push myself to build this car. You can see they've already started cutting everything out. I mean, there's no trunk hinges no more. Let's go ahead and check out what's in the trunk. Look, even the trunk has been skinned. They've got weight jacks on the leaf springs. So if you wanted to adjust the cross weights or the ride heights, you could just turn this bolt, which that is not going to turn nowadays. That's gonna have to get cut out. And I'm gonna end up cutting out a lot of bars and redoing some things on this car, because look, even their cage is bolted in right here. So I'm going to re-engineer a lot of things on this car, and I've only got a little over a month to do it, and not even that much time to work on it. So I think we may cut some corners, but you know what, I just want to make that last race. Oh, they even cut the tail light buckets out. Dang it. So if I wanted to make it street legal, I have to find a way to attach taillights in there. But yep, the taillight buckets have been cut out. So they were, see, look, most of the trunk hinge is gone. You know, all that's left is the quarter panel brace. I don't have any, I don't feel bad about cutting that trunk out. But a lot of these bars, I mean, you don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars right here. And it just, there's excessive amount of tubing, and it's too small of diameter. So I can go much bigger on the diameter and less tubing. I mean, look, it even has the freaking old school rope style window net. It's probably gonna break if I release this. Maybe I'll just leave it up. It looks cool for now. You know, the original dash is gone. So a guy in Southern Cali, Daryl, he gave me that dash frame, and it's just, don't be worried guys, I'm not gonna mess up a real rally dash because it's already messed up. So that's just gonna be the top part, so I can put what looks like a dash frame back in it. But I mean, look, we've even got some electrical, I forgot what they call it, the electrical, that's conduit. And there's more conduit throughout the car. And look how heavy duty angle iron bracing that seat is, or the seat brackets. So we're gonna cut, and we don't need these crossbars. We're gonna cut so much out of this thing and make it even lighter. Wanna see what's under the hood? Look at the hood hinges. Isn't that cool? Of course, that's also heavy too, so we're gonna redo that in aluminum. Oh, everything's so rusty. Actually, I take that back. This car is super solid for what it is. Oh, come on. So look at that. Even the hood is just a flimsy skin. All the inner fender's been cut out. That is way heavy duty bracing. We're gonna cut all that out and redo that. But even the firewall has been cut out for the cage to go through. This was a manual brake car originally, I can tell by that brake adapter. But we're gonna redo some cage work on this thing, redo the K-frame, redo all this, well, let's just face it, we have to build the whole car. We don't need to sugarcoat it. But I want to turn this into a Daytona. I've got some Vega rear window plugs, so we're gonna go ahead and put a rear plug in it. So this thing is going to be bitchin', and I cannot wait to get it home and start cutting away at this thing and making it what it has meant to be. Race car. You know, I was just thinking, I do need a fuel cell. And I would like to put that steering column in it. May end up taking those home with me. When is the last time anyone has raced on Winston winter tires? Whoa. Try doing that with a modern tire in 40 years. Bolt. Should we start another project, Bolt? Okay. All right. Just one more, okay? Alrighty, fellas. It's a pretty windy day today, but I don't really have the option to pick and choose the days I want to work on this car because I've only got a month and a half and I can't work on the car full time because I've got to work, got to make monies. So I'm going to take every opportunity I have to work on this, and starting right now is teardown day. So I need to get the roof off, get the hood off, get the fenders off, get the doors off, get the trunk lid off, because I need to start tearing into this thing, cutting bars out, cutting structure out, cutting body panels, I mean cutting what's left of the rear package tray. You know, I got to cut some of the floor pan out. I've got to get all of this thing cut down to where then I can start building it the way I want. We got to cut a lot of bars off the front clip. So we just need to get at it. And I've got my arsenal here along with the plasma cutter. We're gonna start plasma and cutting away. So if you notice, when they were building the cage on this car, they actually cut the roof off, built the cage, and then they put the roof back on and they bolted it. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just unbolt it. But then you look at behind and yeah, there's no way that those bolts are going to come out of that. So I'm gonna have to just cut them. And I got to looking at the rest of the hardware. They've got the door skins to where they bolt on. There's no structure in these doors. That is just skin. And so they've got brackets that's holding the door on. And again, those bolts, not gonna come out. That's not gonna come out. It looks a lot uglier now without the skins on it. It looks a lot more ratty. It looks more like a piece of shit. Which is why I have to undo all of that. We're gonna cut pretty much most of the front cage off. We're gonna cut the roll cage off at the main hoop back, because that is, geez, it looks like scaffolding. That is terrible. We're gonna cut all of that out. So pretty much all we're gonna have left is the main cage structure, because it's really not that bad. And actually they did a pretty good job welding it. This was probably like gas welded back in the day, because that's not MIG weld, that's gas. And I mean, this thing, for its day, I mean, look, that's pretty good. I have zero doubts this cage is not strong. I do need, however, to attach it to the body better. They didn't do a very good job attaching this cage to the structure. So we're gonna do, I think we're gonna kind of box in that cage where it mounts to the rocker and just make it to where the cage is really a structure part of the body. Because even look back here, they have that bolted on. And this bar does not need to be here. That is super excessive. We don't need all that triangulation. This thing looks like it was built for a freaking figure-8 race. So we're gonna make it a lot lighter. I don't know about stronger, but we're gonna make it a lot lighter. It doesn't need to be this tankish. And to start with, I think we're gonna go ahead and cut this bar, and this bar out. So bam, 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 because they just had it to where this was sitting on the door, which I'm okay with that. But you know what? Actually, you know what? I think we're just going to make it to where this attaches to here, and then just cut this guy out. We'll leave this one here and that there, because that will actually strengthen the door. See, this is all just on the fly. When I'm going to start commence to cutting. Now, obviously I'm cutting some bars out to redo them. This bar here is the seatbelt bar, but it's way too low. This seatbelt bar needs to be up about where, oh, where the shoulder harness goes through the seat. So this thing is like 8 to 10 inches too low. So we're just gonna cut it off. And then once I get my seat mounted, I'll go ahead and make a new bar. I actually just felt the cage stretch a little bit when I cut that. It's another day. So much more to still do on the Daytona build, but I'm still ramped up and excited, and we're even starting to develop a big old pile here of unneededness. And I think I'm actually going to remove a couple more things, because look at the freaking girth on that tubing right there. Holy crap, it's like monster truck girth. And if that's what these door bars are made out of, these door bars are going to disappear. That's right side weight. We don't want right side weight on a circle track car, but I'm actually going to road course this thing too, so I'm looking at it as just weight in general. And I'm also getting ready to start taking some more weight out of the ass of the car by getting rid of all of the factory trunk pan, because that's just sheet metal. I'm going to replace it with thicker gauge sheet metal with 16 gauge, so that way when I make my new rear cage, it goes down to the rear frame rails. They'll be boxed stronger, and we're going to make another support brace that goes to the rear valance that holds the rear bumper, so that way the ass in this car, if it did take a shock, because this is racing, this isn't parading, this isn't, you know, time trials, this is racing. And in racing, pushing, shoving, bumping, and straight out pit maneuvering happens all the time. Let's go ahead and get that trunk pan out. That'll be my plug well. I guess that's how I did it on your part too. Daytona materials. Don't you just hate it, just trying to record stuff with a camera and you get like the camera in the shadow? But I just wanted to show you that this car is super freaking solid. Like, this was a really good body that they turned into a circle track car. And I'm going to continue to turn it into a circle track car because all the structure was cut out of it. I know some guys on the other side of that screen looking at me going, what a idiot. I'm gonna blurp that part out. And they're like, so they're probably just yelling at me like, he's destroying that car. Chargers mean nothing to him. It's like, I love Chargers. I build Chargers. Look, Derek is back in town. He's been on the sick bus for a while. But that Charger right here, the only thing that is original from that car is the roof structure. But everything under the roof is all AMD and donor sections, like a donor front clip, donor rear clip with all new AMD metal mixed in between. And so I rebuild these cars. I like to bring them back to life. This one, however, the only thing that was good was basically the lower structure. The frame rails, the torsion support, the floor pan, the rockers, the rear seat pan, and the rear frame rails. Everything else Charger that sits on top of that structure, junk. Not junk, but just basically race car. They removed all the inner structure on the roof, the hood, the trunk lid, the quarters. There's no roof structure left anywhere in here. There's no roof structure left on the wheelhouses. There's no torsion support structure for the trunk hinges. There's nothing underneath here. They cut the tail panel section out, so there's nothing to actually hold the tail lights in. That's all the buckets were removed. Even the cowl, the entire cowl section has been skinned. The firewall is beat up and cut out and torched out. So really, there was no original Charger metal that would have been rebuilt from this car. It's all just skins. The car is pretty much unrestorable. So I'm like, you know what? This makes it a perfect candidate to continue to turn into a race car because there is no Charger left on it to actually start from. Well, and I want a race car, so I win. It's my car. And so that's why I'm continuing to do this. So I'm just with that explanation. There we go. I had to get the words out. Get him, Bolt. Who's that? Who is it? Who's that? Who's that? Get him. Tell him. Who's that? Who's that? With all of that explanationing happening behind the screens, so that way you know why I'm doing this, we're going to continue to butcher this thing. And by butchering, we're going to get rid of this X brace up here because that is way too much weight up high. This is all 120 wall tubing here. These door bars are 120 wall along with this 120 wall. So we're going to cut. I was going to save this and just run this down to here, but now since I found out that's 120 wall, along with all the amounts of gusseting and triangulationing, we're just gonna cut all that out. There's not gonna be a whole lot of this cage left by the time I'm done. It'll be the main cage structure with those door bars, this X, and this dash bar. I'm still retaining some of the original structure. But I tell you what, this cage is a hell of a lot better than the one that's in the other Daytona. Mike's Daytona, this is freaking water pipe. So it's corners of water pipe with straight pieces of water pipe. This whole cage setup was made out of like 120 wall water pipe. Now I did cut the back off and redo some cage work. I added new bars here, made all new trunk pan and all that stuff for this car. All the trunk, I mean, this thing's pretty bitchin' looking. And I also did the Vega rear plug on it. And then I redid the cage work up here. So my cage is a heck of a lot better than Mike's cage. And I know Mike's gonna watch this, so. All right. So Derek and I are going to continue to start cutting and chopping and grinding. I gave Derek the grinder. He's qualified for that. Well, guys, I think the demolition stage is complete. We've got everything that I wanted cut out of it, pretty much cut out of it. I do need to cut that out, and I'm going to box in the 4-point cage. I'm going to box that into the rockers. Yeah, so we'll get all that boxed in and nice and tight and pretty and strong. We want this car girthy, but not girthy as in heavy, which this thing was. This was 120 wall, 1.75 inch tubing, pretty much throughout the car except for a couple of straggler pieces. And now we're going to redo it in 1.5 inch 083 wall DOM tubing, which is going to be much lighter. It's going to be probably almost, maybe not quite half the weight, but much lighter. I did leave the driver's side door bars in because it's 120 wall, so that'll stop a semi truck. You know, if a semi truck decides to pull on the racetrack like Smokey and the Bandit did, well, my door bars will be safe. And I actually got to plate those, so it requires a 1/8 inch plate in between each bar to fill that in. The right side door bars, however, we're going to be doing some left-handers. Yeah, circle track racing. I like me some circle track racing, especially on the dirt. But this, pavement. And since we don't want all that right side weight, I went ahead and cut them out, and we're going to replace them with 1.5 inch 083 DOM, which will be much better in the corners. But we're also going to not strictly make this circle track. I want to make it road course too, because this might be a track day car. Circle track it a couple times and maybe turn it into a track day car. So I went ahead and got the rear clip all cleaned up too. So we cut out all the sheet metal that we didn't need. And yes, okay, I am a Mopar guy, so it was kind of sad that I'm cutting super clean metal out of this car. But then again, this car is unrestorable. So there's, I shouldn't say unrestorable, because there are those guys that will say, oh, you can build a car around a VIN tag. Okay, well, this car didn't even have a VIN tag, so that eliminates those guys. It didn't have any inner structure. That eliminates those guys. It didn't have any body numbers. Eliminates those guys. And since I like racing and it already has those 3 negatives, I'm making this a positive by turning it into a freaking 69 Charger Daytona race car. Suck it, purists. Back to the race car. So we're going to plate the tops of the rear frame rails with 16 gauge, and I'm going to make a new trunk pan out of 22 gauge. That way the frame rails will be stronger, and I can run my new down tubes, you know, from, oh, I forgot one to grind. So I can run my new down tubes from here to the rear rails with some triangulation involved, get some geometrics in there. You don't really want weight behind the rear axle. If I could put the fuel cell right there, that would be more betters, but legally can't do that. Plus, I might want to put a passenger seat in this thing, which is also why I'm doing the typical kick-out door bars instead of just straight across. I can legally just put straight across door bars on the passenger side, but if I have a passenger in here later, there'll be no elbow room for them. So, trying to think ahead of time. Got the rear clip cut shorter, cut all the bars off. This bar, yes, it's 120 wall, but you know what? I went ahead and left it. So I'll just come off of here and go down to the frame rail in 1.5 inches. And I'm going to modify the pedal assembly. I was going to put like a whole like race car pedal assembly in here, but I don't know. I think I might try and keep it nostalgic. And so I'm just going to leave this pedal assembly in here and put a manual master cylinder on the firewall and go with that. But there is a crap load of fabrication still that has to happen. This first part of this build was just the tear down stage, and believe me, it's torn down. And guess what? QA1 is jumping on board. Yep, we're gonna have all QA1 suspension on this car, but it has to be within the rules. So I can't put like the full badass shocks that I want on the car. I have to tone it down. It has to be a steel bodied shock, but it's rebuildable and I can valve it how I want it. So I'm looking forward to that. More into the suspension when I get to that point. But this thing's gonna be pretty badass. It's going to handle like a mofo's. And we're gonna be using a 340. Yes, we have an engine picked out. Let me go ahead and show you. NASCAR R5P7. No, just kidding, can't use that. But what I can use is this IMCA, no, this is a Wisota mod, A-mod motor. So it's a 340, it's got good guts in it. So it's a circle track. This probably makes about, I gotta change the intake and the oil pan, but that engine will probably make, oh, I'm hoping maybe in the 500 range. But then once we quench it down with a 2-barrel, maybe 420. But yeah, those are the rules. 2-barrel carburetor. But I may hit up Howard's Cams for an extra special 2-barrel camshaft to try and squeeze back some of those ponies. What do you think of my racing car, Derek?
Oh, it'd be pretty sick, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'd be cool. Old school.
I've always wanted a Daytona NASCAR. Not so much a Daytona street car. I don't know. Daytona street cars in stock trim, they're kind of goofy looking a little bit. I mean, it's neat because of the NASCAR nostalgia of it. But to me, what looks really badass are NASCAR Daytonas, the actual race car versions. So that's what we're going to turn this into. I don't think I even showed you. So here's a Vega plug, and we're going to put this on the back of my Daytona, so that way it looks like a Daytona from a distance. It's not exactly correct, but it's close enough that from 20 feet away, it's going to look good. And from the grandstand's point of view, they're going to be like, holy crap, it's a Daytona. They're not going to know the difference. I don't know. I'm just super excited and I'm stoked. So stay tuned for part 2, guys, because that's when the build process starts. This was